The LLB here at Newcastle is different because one of the main focuses we have is on the global challenges that law is facing. We tend to focus our law degree around the issues that really matter at that point in time.
We have experts in the field who will teach students actively in the classroom. That means you have access to the experts who are actually changing the law as we speak.
I enjoy law because it's problem solving, and I enjoy the journey from a problem to a solution and undertaking the research to find the tools to tackle that problem. My research currently focuses on the experiences of women, Indigenous women in the Pacific Islands to marine resources for feeding their families and supporting their livelihoods. And the idea is to listen to women's voices in terms of their experience in order to inform policies going forward for sustainable development.
My research focuses on vulnerability in contract law. And in doing so, I'm looking at how contractual structures can be used to protect the most vulnerable in our society. The most recent example might be how the government imposed a price cap on energy tariffs. And that actually had a more detrimental effect for vulnerable consumers, even though it was envisaged as being something that's really useful. There would have been other ways to achieve protection of vulnerable consumers, which would have been much more effective. And those are the suggestions we put to the government.
My research focuses on the interaction between law and politics in areas of technological change. So whether we're talking about the regulation of AI in the online environment and the use of algorithms, whether we are thinking about the impact of patents on the production of new medicines, particularly in the context of COVID-19, or new rules relating to cybersecurity, my focus is on how issues that are politically contentious result in particular legal responses, whether we're talking about voluntary obligations placed upon companies or whether we're talking about top-down regulation.
I think it's important to emphasise that studying law actually gives you the skills to problem solve in all sorts of different environments, and that actually a law degree is a very good general degree to have to go into all sorts of different future employment. And indeed I've had graduates that have gone into very diverse areas for their careers.
The focus of my research is biomedicine and emerging health technologies. So I'm interested in social, legal and ethical issues around life sciences in general. And my focus has been human reproduction technologies per se. I bring insights from medical sociology, biomedicine, bioethics and science and technology studies to my research. It is all about how society responds to technologies and how technologies develop because of certain responses.
So the focus of my research is on constitutionalism and international law. Across my research, I use feminist methodologies and bring that together with constitutional and political theory to really question what's meant by democracy and constituent power. Can we offer ways of rethinking and reconceptualizing ideas of constituent power? So in my most recent work, I've used science fiction literature, I've used feminist manifestos, and I've used theatre productions of Shakespeare's play King John to think about how we can understand the way that constitutional moments are both constructed, but how they might be reconceptualized from feminist perspectives. I'm not a lawyer originally, I'm actually an English and history student who converted into law, and that's why my research now focuses much more on the literary and the historical, thinking about science fiction texts and feminist manifestos.
I think one of the great advantages of studying at Newcastle is that it's a relatively small law school, so it's very friendly. Newcastle itself is of course a big city, but the law school being in this building primarily means that there's a geographical location for students to get to know each other.
So I think the LLB at Newcastle is distinctive because of the range of activities that students can get involved in. We offer client interviewing and client negotiation competitions. We've recently introduced mediation, and there are a range of mooting and advocacy training and courses and competitions that our students can get involved in.
Newcastle is an incredibly accessible institution, both as a university as well as a law school. We are small enough to have good connections with the student body. We have excellent representation for students from a range of different backgrounds, both in our student staff committee as well as through our widening access programs. We consider Newcastle to be an incredibly welcoming environment no matter where you've come from.